Welcome to Season 3 of Public Health on Call, a podcast from the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health. I'm Josh Sharfstein, Vice Dean for Public Health Practice and Community Engagement and a former Secretary of Maryland's Health Department. Our goal is to bring scientific evidence and experience to the public health news of the day through informative interviews with scientists, community leaders, policy experts, public health officials, clinicians, and more. If you have ideas or questions for us to cover, please email us at publichealthquestion@jhu.edu. That's publichealthquestion@jhu.edu for future podcast episodes. Today, I catch up with Principal Matt Hornbeck of Hampstead Hill Academy, an award-winning public middle school in Baltimore City. The kids are back in school, but is it the same as it ever was? Let's listen. Principal Matt Hornbeck, thank you so much for coming back to the podcast. What is the situation now at your school?
Thank you, Dr. Sharfstein. I'm so glad to be with you. We have more than 500 students coming to in-person instruction, and we're very excited about it. I was observing a classroom, a sixth grade classroom yesterday, where they were engaged in a conversation about forms of government and monarchy, democracy, tyranny, oligarchy, and just a joy to listen to students and teachers engage each other together in person. So we are back. And we have about 500, I should say, in person and about 300 still working remotely.
Got it. How many months were you off from in-person instruction?
Depending on the grade, 12 to 14.
12 to 14 months.
Almost 14, yeah.
Wow. So they're back, and what kinds of precautions do you have in place for the coronavirus?
So City Schools is really taking the return to in-person very, very seriously. And the standard operating procedure for all schools is being followed here at Hampstead Hill. We have masking, social distancing. We have dividers between student desks. We have screening questions and temp checks in the morning. Here at Hampstead Hill, no adults other than staff are permitted in the building. And we do weekly testing, PCR gold standard testing for COVID of all students.
And what's the general sense that people feel confident going back to school under these conditions?
Yes, parents have reported that students are very much enjoying being back. Teachers feel very good about being back. All of our teacher-level staff are vaccinated, and everybody's had the opportunity to get vaccinated. Out of our 95 staff members, there are about 7 support staff who've chosen not to be vaccinated at this time. But large numbers of people are vaccinated, feel very comfortable being in the building. But it's still a change for everybody. I mean, teaching and learning in a mask all day is something new.
And how is that going? What's the new part for you?
So the new part is that the teachers are moving from room to room instead of the students moving from room to room. Again, that's a COVID mitigation strategy to have fewer people move around. And so you don't see students in the hallways. We have removed half the furniture from all of the classrooms. So there's furniture around the building in places it wouldn't normally be as we store it until what we hope will be a full opening in the fall, an all day with anyone who wants to come back opening in the fall. But students still come in the morning, and we get them in the building, and it's great to be able to provide lunch to everybody. And we're back up about where we were at about 500 meals a day being served, and so that's terrific.
How's it going for the kids who are home?
So that's been an adjustment because the schedule changed, and it's been difficult. And we're focused on core content areas: reading, writing, math, social studies, and science in the in-person instruction. And then we're doing synchronous resource classes like gym, art, online. And then the students that are working full-time online are zooming into class. We've figured out the technology though, so that the in-person students can see the Zoom kids, and the Zoom kids can see the in-person students, and can hear and talk. And so it's going as well as you would expect, but it's not like being together. And there is it's distracting for the teacher to have to, we call it swiveling back and forth between in person and remote.
And why do you think some of those kids are not back in school? What do you? I'm sure you've talked to some of the parents. What's the predominant reason?
I think the schedule not being all day every day is tough on families in terms of pickup and drop off. I think that some of the students are watching their younger siblings and very younger siblings, non-school age siblings. There are clearly some people who are still concerned, as is certainly appropriate, that we're still in the midst of a pandemic, and they're not sure about coming to in-person for that reason. We are going to have a second open enrollment session for people who were not wanting to come in the first round, but may now, after seeing hundreds of students come each day at Hampstead Hill, be interested in coming back to us. So we'll be offering that.
And tell me about your thinking about the summer. I know that this has been such a difficult period, and some kids have probably, fallen behind where you'd want them to be. Mm-hmm. What's your thinking about the summer?
So we've dedicated resources to a significant summer intervention program focused on learning loss, and about 4 times as many of our teachers than usual have signed up to teach summer programming primarily in reading and math. And so we'll be working with student groups throughout the summer, and there'll be a concentrated period of time for 5 weeks, but there'll be some summer intervention going on for all 10 weeks. And then, we're getting ready for what the fall brings. And not until we're in all day with all kids will we truly be able to see the impact of the pandemic on student learning. So, but we are going to provide a lot of support over the summer. Of course, that's voluntary, and it will be in person.
Now, I remember when we talked right after you all were sent home, and you were scrambling to get any semblance of education together. Now you're kind of on the road to recovery. Does it feel like Hampstead Hill again? I mean, what's your sense? Do people have an optimistic outlook? Do you sense that it's returning, or does it still feel like you're in this indeterminate, confusing place?
I think the answer is yes. And a lot of that is how we feel depending on the moment, the day, and what's going on. Without having after-school clubs and everyone in the building and lunch together and recess together and gym art and music and band and orchestra in the building happening, the sort of lots of the things that feed the body and feed the soul are not here, and we're not back yet with those activities. We've really whittled it down to the core content areas, as I mentioned earlier. And so that feels very strange. But it feels great to see each other for the first time, to be together. One of our third grade teachers, when the first day that the third graders came back, said with a smile that it was a wonderful day, but she felt like the kids had forgotten how to person, and they were kind of startled to be with other people. And that notion that you are part of a classroom, part of a community, is very different when you're in person than when you're online. And so the kids are kind of relearning some of that. And that is a big difference that'll stay with us for a while.
Wow. Last question. What was the verdict? Democracy, oligarchy, dictatorship? How did that conversation go?
It was democracy, but there were a few people that were in favor of oligarchy for the efficiency of decision-making. They argued their case well, but democracy won out.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And it's really great to check back in with you, and good luck with all the kids, both for the end of the school year and this summer.
So appreciated. Thanks for everything you do.
Public Health on Call is produced by Josh Sharfstein, Lindsay Smith-Rogers, and Stephanie Desmond. Audio production by Spencer Greer, Niall Owen McCusker, C.N. Oates, and Matthew Martin, with support from Chip Hickey. Distribution by Nick Moran. Production support from Catherine Ricardo and Neiman Outland. Social media support from Brenda Haggader, Grace Holes Fernandez, and Caroline Wong. Thank you for listening.